And that way you can micro move it. So what we do want, we were going to go to the top of the wall first, so we'll go all the way to the top. There you go. Now you can touch this screen and drag it, and just don't take your finger off yet till you're satisfied. So what you're doing is watching up here, and you're just watching to take that through the thickness.
Didn't we include we didn't divide at that's the entire interventricular septum.
Yeah, we're going to first measure the thickness of that. Okay, now it wants to know inside the mushroom,
Yeah.
so you'll touch and drag down inside your mushroom. Perfect. Okay, now you'll touch and drag down to the white line. Exactly. Okay, and number 1 there. Okay, so we just want to lock that row
Oh,
in.
that's
So
right.
we'll take that
Take
image.
pictures.
Okay, now we're
Okay.
just going to close our mushroom, so you can
Mhm.
cycle through.
Now, do I? Oh, okay. Once
Yeah.
I start moving.
And you can
then-
look for, that was actually a great one you measured, and we
Yeah.
can just look for the systole if we see part of our wall above that.
So I probably needed to go back from that. one.
Exactly. It's actually a real good one.
Oops. Oops.
Okay, use your green scroll bar and let's pull it back to the left a little. There you go.
There we go.
So it's just tightening up like that. Okay, same process, IVSS. And you can go to the top of that wall as well. So as you see your ring here,
It looks like it's right there.
so that would be the top of the wall on the inside of the mushroom itself.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do want to be on the, oops, sorry, screwed that up. You know, somewhere on the outer edge of the wall. So what you're measuring is the
Oh.
thickness of the donut per se.
Between the entire between the two chambers.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. But here, you know, you can kind of see your wall a little bit here. Okay, and don't freak if you're off a millimeter or two, because that's why we got this algorithm in here. It's going to calculate for all that. Okay, so you'll touch and drag that down. Exactly.
And it's on the sheet too,
Yeah,
right?
it's
The
on the
picture,
sheet, too.
so I can see. Okay.
Okay, touch and
then
drag
I-
again because it automatically did that for you. There you go. We'll touch and drag again. Beautiful. Okay, number 1. Okay, so now you notice you have 2, 2, and 2. That means your measurements are consistent. We don't have one that's off. And we're just going to do that one more time. Dr. Davis is going to
Yeah.
sit over there.
Don't be hogging, Dr. Santiago.
I didn't know. I didn't know if you wanted me to do.
All right, so she's
Nothing
already
good.
selected it. Otherwise, I would have selected it. Right?
Yes, that's correct. So you cycle through and you want to find your most open mushroom first.
Oh, sorry. I stole your thunder with that one.
And that's actually a good image you have because you can kind of see that upper wall. Okay, so exactly, you want to just tap the screen, we'll place that caliper. Yep, if you need to make an adjustment from that side.
And then do I touch
Touch
and drag?
and just don't take your finger off until you're satisfied with that measurement. Exactly. Going down onto the white line. There you go. Okay, we'll use the number 1 button there to lock that row in. Perfect. Now we want to close our heart and systole, so we use our green scroll bar. We're just going to look for the tightest part of the heart. Yep, you have it. Okay, now we're going to hit the bottom row, so IVSS. That's correct. Good job with that.
Come on. Continue to move.
There you go, that's perfect. algorithm calculates for that. Perfect.
It wasn't moving anymore, even though I was trying to make it move.
Sure, number
Okay.
1 there. Perfect. And if you notice, you have 3, 3, and 3 across the row. That means all our measurements are accurate.
Okay.
And that's exactly how you do it. Feline or canine, doesn't matter.
Okay.
So we're going to learn our second measurement here.
Okay.
So that's anatomical mushroom measurement. You'll be doing that a lot on felines for the lack of having a M mode we can actually read. Okay. So now we're going to measure M mode. How we do that? We're going to access our file folder again. We're going to use the right arrow key to scroll over. And now we're going to stop our images on the M mode of our mushroom now. And again, this is why we take 3, because you can look through your 3 M modes to see which one you like the most to work with. Okay, kind of like our first one. Again, you have to select an image that says raw. We're going to tap on the big screen now to bring that image up. And the good thing about into these images too, we can darken this up. It's called post-processing. So we can kind of darken it up to take some artifact out of it, if you will. Okay, and this is how I was taught by the cardiologist. If we have a pen, I can borrow that real quick. Because a lot of times you can get artifact from the papillary muscle filling in right here.
Mm-hmm.
We seen that when we were trying to get some other ones. So you'll be like, well, how do I know where to stop my caliper in this measurement? Okay, so how you do it, on the bottom wall, you'll come down to the most lowest point here in your little valley, and then you just follow that wall over. So if we had artifact in here, you don't hit here and then go way up into the artifact and down. So you find your lowest point and you just follow that wall around, and that's where you know where you stop your caliper. Same thing up here. You'll find your lowest point and you just follow that wall around.
So are you kind of avoiding there's like a teeny little blip?
That's correct.
Like,
That's
that we're
correct.
not
And that's
looking-
probably part of the mitral valve that we're hitting right here.
Good.
Now, sometimes on cats, especially hypertrophic issues, the MO becomes just so tight and then you just can't read it, okay? That's why we're learning to do the anatomical measurement. But if you have a nice clean M mode, be it feline or canine, that's what you want to stick with when you're doing your measurements. But sometimes it's just impractical, okay?
All right, what I'm talking about though is each valley that you were pointing out. Then to the right of that, there's a peak, but there's like a little extra.
Those little
No,
things.
well those
You're
yes, but
talking
I'm talking about those little fluffy things on the
Yes,
peak.
that's artifact.
Okay.
That's artifact.
Okay.
So if you see, usually when they're kind of doubled up on the double lines, that means the papillary muscle is hitting your motion mode,
Mhm.
creating that artifact.
Mhm.
Some can go all the way up into your next peak. So how you discern through that again is you find your lowest
Right.
peak and follow that wall over,
Got
and
it.
that can keep you out of that.
Mhm.
And that's a good point because that happens quite a bit. If you notice here, this M mode's just like we done anatomical. So as you're coming down here, you go into the right ventricular space, which is this space right here. Here's your interventricular septum, okay, the thick line here. Systole is where the humps kiss in the middle. Diastole is where the humps are reversed right before systole. This is inside your mushroom. Here's the posterior wall of the mushroom and the white line, pericardium. Okay, we want to hit our red ruler. Just like on the mushroom, we're going to IVS-D first. Pick out an area that we can look at. We're going to set our caliper here. This line either moves up or down or left to right. What you want to do is move your line in to where it's kind of in the middle of your little divots, okay, or your little valleys there, and that'll just kind of help keep your measurements consistent. Some are going to be lined up perfect. We're pretty lucky with this one. Some are going to be off angle. You're going to have to use your judgment on these crosshairs as you're coming down, okay, so we kind of pay attention to our crosshairs as we're lowering it here. So here we just want to touch. We're not going to take our finger off till we're done with this measurement. So we're going to just measure the thickness of diastole first. Inside our mushroom now, we're going to drag down to this lower end here, just to the bottom divot. Okay, and now we're going to pull this caliper down into the white line.
Do you want to be kind of in the middle of the white line, or
If
the
you see
inside
a,
of the
if you
white
see a
line?
pronounced V shape,
Mhm.
you want to go down into the V just like you are right on the top measurement.
But kind of you're at the top of the white line.
Exactly. So in other words, you can split the difference here because it's only probably a 0.5 millimeter difference. So you
Mhm.
just don't want to be down below it for
Okay.
sure. If anything, a little to the inside of it. Okay. But again, that's why we do it in a set of 3 because it'll calculate for all that stuff. Okay. So from here, we have both diastole and systole on the same screen. So you don't have to hit the number 1 right now. If you do, you didn't do anything wrong. It's just going to record that image. Okay. So now we're going to go to IVSS. Same process. We're going to go right above our wall. We want to center our line kind of in the humps. Okay. If you notice, we're coming down onto our wall. We're going to measure the thickness now of this. So we're going to come down. Now we're going to come down on top of our wall, okay, on top of our other hump, and if you notice, I'm just kind of making my crosshairs just about to where this one's lined up right to the top of our hump, okay. Same thing here, we're just going to drop that down, kind of eyeballing our white line here. Even if we come down to here, it's okay, you're not going to blow up anything, just kind of know eyeballing it, and we'll stop just a little bit above it. Number 1 here, and that locks in that whole first measurement. So if you notice here, unlike when we done anatomical, our EF and FS is calculated for us just instantly when we do M-mode measurement. That's why this is more of a gold standard when you're doing these measurements. And it's telling us right here, about 64% of our heart's closing, and that's our kind of EF area. That's what we're trying to get out with these numbers here of how much is our heart, kicking out. I tell everybody, when you're watching your mushroom in short axis and you're doing your number 2 video over that, you can find out a lot of information just watching your mushroom. So if your mushroom's doing this, greater than 50% of the heart's kicking out the blood flow. And that's what we want. Okay, it's about normal. If your mushroom's here and it's just doing this, okay, that means that the EF will be super low, that the heart's not efficiently pumping out the blood that it needs to the rest of the body. This happens a lot in DCM, tamponade from effusions. Okay, so if we're watching our mushroom, it's doing this, we know that's pretty normal. Doing this, we know that's not normal. Okay, and that's kind of what we're getting at with this information.
I missed the hand signals.
Okay, so when we're looking at our mushroom in our short axis view, we can tell a whole lot about our EF just by watching our mushroom, and you can get that information just by watching the mushroom as it collapses. So if we know our mushroom's doing this, we know greater than half our mushrooms kicking out the blood flow to the rest of the body. Okay? If the mushroom's just doing this, that means that it's not efficiently circulating the blood to the rest of the body, which would mean a low EF. And this is a lot of times from dilated disease and or tamponade from effusion. So you can tell a lot by your heart just by looking at your mushroom in cross section. And that's kind of where we're getting at with these numbers here to help us with that part.